Hello, fellow Sunny and Philly fans. Captain Catholic here. I'm wandering around the streets of Philadelphia to bring you the very first episode of Jabroni Selfies. In this video, I'm going to be visiting every single Philadelphia filming location from the very first episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Season 1, Episode 1, The Gang Gets Racist. But don't be racist, that's a mortal sin. You'll get to see all of the real-life neighborhoods and locations in which the gang spends their time. I'll also be going over the addresses and exact locations of each filming location, so that if you're ever here in Philly, you too can easily visit each filming location on your own. Or in the meantime, you can of course always take a virtual tour and just check it out on Google Maps. Either way, it should be a lot of fun. Although I gotta admit, while the more touristy areas like the Italian Market and the Rocky Steps shouldn't be a problem, I am a little nervous about filming in some of the more residential locations. I mean, I'm not really sure if total strangers will, like the idea of me filming outside of their homes, but I'm probably overreacting. I mean, look at me. I have the Pope on my shirt. It's not like I'm some kind of suspicious-looking jabroni. What could possibly go wrong? Alright, I'll admit it. I am a pretty suspicious and strange-looking jabroni, which is a good thing since we're about to get started with our Jabroni Selfie checklist. We have a total of 6 locations on our checklist today. If you ever visit Philly, you gotta visit these filming locations and take your very own Jabroni selfies in front of them. You might look like a jabroni, but that's the risk you have to take when you're going for gasps. And trust me, your friends will definitely gasp at your amazing selfies. With that being said, I hereby officially welcome you to the first episode of Jabroni Selfies. So, let's get started. The first filming location on our Jabroni Selfie checklist is a very special one, particularly for Charlie. So let's go visit the Waitress's coffee shop. At 4 minutes and 9 seconds into this episode, we see Mac, Charlie, and Dennis walking across 4th Street on their way to the Waitress's coffee shop as they debate about racism, Terrell, and whether Charlie simply has a crush on the waitress or is obsessed with her. And of course he's obsessed with her. The Waitress's coffee shop is located at 518 South 4th Street in Philly, which is in Center City, Philadelphia. As you can see in Google Maps, the coffee shop is on 4th Street in between Lombard and South Street, and at the corner of Gaskell Street. So at the moment, I'm approaching the coffee shop from the north at the corner of 4th and Lombard Street. The coffee shop can be seen just down the road from here. Now, as you can see, this is an actual coffee shop called the Green Line Cafe, which leads us to a quick history lesson. At the time The Gang Gets Racist was filmed, this place was another actual coffee shop called Philadelphia Java Company. In fact, the sign for Philadelphia Java Company can be seen in the episode. Since then, Philadelphia Java Company has closed and it temporarily became another coffee shop called Milk and Honey, which can be seen in this video I took back in 2017. Not before long, Milk and Honey closed too, which led to the Green Line Cafe opening its doors. So even though the name has changed a couple of times, don't worry, you can still get plenty of coffee here. Now to go into the details here, when the scene starts, we see the gang walking northwest on 4th Street. They start out on the east side of 4th Street in front of a building called the Foremost Building, which is located at 525 South 4th Street. They cross the street in front of the Foremost Building and make their way to the west side of 4th Street, where Philadelphia Java Company is waiting for them. Then, they sit at a table outside Philadelphia Java Company where the waitress works as a waitress. Today, there are still outdoor tables so that you can grab a cup of joe outside the place just like the gang did in this episode. As you can see, the tables present today are different than the ones back in 2005, but you can still get the same experience. An additional note, something that's special about this shot is that it's the first time in the entire series when we get to see the gang filming in the actual city of Philadelphia, which is pretty cool. Another quick note about this location, the Waitress's coffee shop is actually just a block north of South Street, which is famous for its restaurants, bars, and shops. It's a great atmosphere, making this a particularly fun filming location to visit. In fact, the coffee shop is just a block north of Jim's Steaks on South Street, which is a great place to grab a cheesesteak. Alright, I think we're about ready to cross off or karate chop this location off our Jabroni Selfie checklist. But first, time for my Jabroni Selfie. I've even been practicing my Mac-style karate chop for this very purpose. Prepare to gasp.
Jabroni Selfie. Jabroni Selfie.
Maybe I should do it with more of a Catholic thing, like a hand of God. Well, I guess I got more laughs than gasps, but Either way, we can now cross this filming location off of our Jabroni Selfie checklist. Next up on our list is Terrell's apartment. At 11 minutes and 11 seconds into this episode, Dee decides to visit Terrell in his apartment to find out once and for all if he's interested in her. And of course, he's not. Bird. Here's the shot of Terrell's apartment as featured in this episode, and here's my shot of what it looks like today. It looks more or less exactly the same. Terrell's apartment is located in the northeastern corner of 3rd and South Street in the Society Hill neighborhood of Philadelphia. It's still an apartment complex today called Head House Flats, named for the historic marketplace just around the corner called Head House Farmers Market. Between the market and South Street, it's another great neighborhood to visit. The address of Head House Flats is 528 South 2nd Street. Alright, time to check this place off our Jabroni Selfie checklist. Since my karate chops got nothing but cheap laughs last time, I figured it was far past time to unleash my Nightman-style cat eyes for some gasps. Gasps are where it's at.
With a COVID-19 mask!
Stop laughing at me. But either way, I probably should have mentioned that I'm filming this video in July 2020. The cool thing about this is that it's nearly 15 years exactly after the release of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which was first broadcast on TV in August 2005. The lousy thing about this is that it's still in the middle of the COVID-19 outbreak, so you'll be seeing a mask on me quite a bit. Hey, I'm just trying to be pure. Hopefully, you're watching this video far into the future when the coronavirus is gone and we no longer have an orange president. Alright, on to the next stop. Filming location number 3 on our Jabroni Selfie checklist is the gang's Italian Market Hangout. At 12 minutes and 2 seconds into this episode, we see the gang sitting down at an outdoor table on the sidewalk of the Italian Market in South Philadelphia. The gang is arguing with one another as usual, forming alliances and ripping the other side apart. This time, they're discussing the future of Patty's Pub and the clientele they wish to cater to. The Italian Market is an absolute must-visit location in Philly, and I'm not even saying that just because I'm Italian. The Italian Market is located in South Philadelphia, and it's the oldest and largest open-air market in America. It takes up 10 full blocks on 9th Street, and it's loaded with all kinds of Italian restaurants, cheese shops, bakeries, butcher shops, bars, cafes, and more. It's also famous for Rocky running up and down it on a regular basis, so you never know when you might see that guy at the Italian Market too. It's an amazing place with absolutely phenomenal food. It's also very family friendly, and so my wife and I bring our kids here all the time. So don't hesitate to bring your dumpster baby too. In any case, there are tons of outdoor tables lining the sidewalks of the Italian Market. People often buy cannolis, gelato, sandwiches, or coffee at one of the many restaurants in the Italian Market, and then they sit down at one of these tables to eat their meal. In this episode, we see the gang sitting down at one of these very tables in the Italian Market, and their particular table is located on the sidewalk right in front of the Italian Market Visitor Center, which is located at 919 South 9th Street. That's a lot of nines. Here's a shot I took of the Italian Market Visitor Center, which you never actually see in the episode because the cameras just never happen to be facing that way. But it's immediately to Mac and Dee's left and Charlie and Dennis's right throughout the entire scene. The table they're sitting at is also just east of the intersection of South 9th Street and Montrose Street, and across the street from Piazza di Bruno. More on that in a minute. So we see the gang drinking coffee in this scene. I'd have to say they likely got their coffee from Anthony's Italian Coffee House, which is located right up the street at 903 South 9th Street. This is a good possibility because Mac and Dennis actually end up living in the apartments above Anthony's at the start of Season 2, so they're clearly fans of Anthony's. More on that once I make the Season 2 episodes of Jabroni Selfies. However, it's possible that they may also have gotten their coffee from GLEANER'S Cafe, which is located at 917 South 9th Street, and is also very close to their table. I actually stopped by GLEANER'S Cafe for a drink and some lunch today so that I could sit at the gang's table. Both Anthony's and GLEANER'S have fantastic food and coffee, and I'd highly recommend them both. So be sure to grab some coffee at one of these places and sit down at the gang's table for a truly authentic It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia experience. Now, if you ever visit the Italian Market, you'll have no trouble at all finding the location of the exact table they sat at in this episode, because as the gang sits at their table, you can easily see various restaurants, shops, and murals behind them. For example, the very large Di Bruno Brothers House of Cheese mural on 9th Street can be seen behind the gang in this shot. shot. Here's the DeBruno Brothers mural as seen in the episode, and here's the DeBruno Brothers mural from the footage I shot. This mural is located in Piazza DeBruno, which is just west of the gang's table. And a quick note for my non-Italian friends, piazzas are found all over Italy. They're large, open public areas, often with lots of outdoor seating. Pretty much just what we would call a square here in America. You don't see many places called a piazza here in the US, but since this is the Italian market, it's definitely appropriate. In any case, Piazza DeBruno is located at 914 South 9th Street. Now behind Charlie and Dennis, we see DeBruno Brothers Pronto Shop, which is right down the street from DeBruno Brothers' flagship location. Pronto used to be a smaller store in which DeBruno Brothers offered homemade prepared foods, but DeBruno Brothers has since changed this location to the 9th Street Bottle Shop, which now offers Italian wine, beer, cider, and all kinds of homemade snacks. The address of DeBruno Brothers' 9th Street Bottle Shop is 920 South 9th Street, and it can be seen here from the footage I took today. Behind Charlie and Dennis, we can also see Claudio's, which is another must-visit shop. Claudio's imports every kind of item imaginable directly from Italy, including pasta, olive oil, cheeses, and more. The address for Claudio's is 924 South 9th Street. Now behind Mac and D, we see a gigantic mural of former Philadelphia Mayor Frank Rizzo. This mural had been there for as long as I can remember. However, when visiting the Italian market today, it looks like this mural has just very recently been erased, likely due to the Black Lives Matter movement. This is probably for the best because Rizzo was unfortunately a bit of a jerk and ironically rather racist, so as Captain Catholic, I officially endorse the erasing of this mural. Personally, I think we should replace it with a mural of Rocky Balboa because he's a much better Philadelphia Italian icon. Or maybe we should just replace it with a mural of the gang sitting at this table. Even though they aren't Italian, I think it's still a pretty good idea. By the way, you heard me mention DeBruno Brothers many times. You gotta stop into their main shop in the Italian market if you're ever in the area. They're famous for the many Italian cheeses they make from scratch, and I can tell you they're the best Italian cheeses this side of the Atlantic. Outside of the cheese he finds from under the bridge, it's probably where Charlie gets most of the cheese he consumes. And so honestly, Charlie probably smells a lot like DeBruno Brothers. DeBruno Brothers is located at 930 South 9th Street, right down the street from the gang's table. All right, time to check this place off our Jabroni Selfie checklist. Yeah, that was pretty lame, but the lack of gasps and overwhelming laughs has really affected my soul in a dark way. All right, so next up on our Jabroni Selfie checklist are several places that are located on the campus of the University of Pennsylvania. The University of Pennsylvania is an Ivy League university in the city of Philadelphia, founded by Ben Franklin himself in the year 1740. But more important to us than all of these very impressive facts is that the University of Pennsylvania is actually Dennis and Dee's alma mater. Yes, that's right, the footage you're seeing right now is of the University of Pennsylvania, and it was here that Dennis and Dee went to college. Yes, so you too are following in their very footsteps as we speak. There are several episodes in which Dennis and Dee talk about being students at the University of Pennsylvania, or Penn for short. Dennis graduated from Penn with a minor in psychology, and Dee majored in psychology at Penn, but flunked out and didn't graduate. Bird. In any case, the University of Pennsylvania is located in a section of West Philadelphia that is known as University City, named for the multiple universities located within its bounds, including Penn and also Drexel University, which is where my own Guido dad went to college. In any case, the University of Pennsylvania is where we find filming location number 4 on our Jabroni Selfie checklist, which is Mac and Charlie's walk through Penn's campus. At 5 minutes and 18 seconds into this episode, we see Mac and Charlie walking through the campus of the University of Pennsylvania. They've come up with a plan to try to find friends whose cultural backgrounds might be different than that of their own. As Mac tells Charlie, college campuses are a great place to meet people of different cultures, diversify, and expand your horizons. Mac and Charlie are walking on 37th Street Walk, which is located on the campus of the University of Pennsylvania. The exact stretch of 37th Street Walk that we see them on is in between Locust Walk and Spruce Street. We see them walking south on 37th Street Walk toward Spruce Street, and we can see a little bit of Locust Walk behind them to the north. Here is what this stretch of 37th Street Walk looks like today. If you look closely enough during this scene, you'll see that we get a brief glimpse of a life-size sculpture of Benjamin Franklin called Ben on the Bench. It can be seen in the background behind Mac and Charlie. It's a pretty cool statue, and fortunately, on the day of my visit, I was relieved to see that I wouldn't be getting COVID-19 from good old Ben, because even he was considerate enough to be wearing a mask himself. Either way, this is a great sunny and Philly filming location to visit. Penn's campus is absolutely gorgeous, and any of its many walking paths make for a great walk. For a truly authentic It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia experience, grab a friend and go for a stroll down this scenic walking path. And be sure to talk to each other about how you can both diversify your own lives. Another quick note, apparently this scene meant so much to the University of Pennsylvania that they decided to name the building right next to where Mac walked, Mac Pavilion. Yes, this building is literally right next to where Mac and Charlie walked. I can't say for sure why Charlie wasn't included in this honor, but perhaps it was because Terrell's sister Janelle badmouthed him to the university after their date didn't go so well. Alright, time to check this place off our Jabroni Selfie checklist. Alright, on to the next stop. Just like filming location number 4, both filming location number 5 and 6 are also on the campus of the University of Pennsylvania. Right before the scene in which Mac and Charlie are walking down 37th Street Walk, we see a couple of establishing shots of Penn's campus. The first shot is at 5 minutes and 14 seconds into the episode, when we see a shot of the LIPPINCOTT Library of the Wharton School, located on the University of Pennsylvania's campus. Here's the shot of LIPPINCOTT Library from this episode, and here's some footage of LIPPINCOTT Library that I filmed today. The address for LIPPINCOTT Library is 3420 Walnut Street. However, in the episode, we see the library not from Walnut Street, but from one of the unnamed trails in Blanche P. Levy Park. Blanche Levy Park is a giant courtyard in the middle of Penn's campus, containing several walking trails that connect numerous buildings on Penn's campus. Now, when the cameraman shot the footage of LIPPINCOTT Library that we see in the episode, he was standing just west of a giant statue called the Broken Button, which you can see here in the footage I shot today. Funny enough, filming location number 6 on our list is just across the park from LIPPINCOTT Library. At 5 minutes and 16 seconds into the episode, we see a shot of the Fisher Fine Arts Library. Here's the footage of the Fisher Fine Arts Library from the episode, and here's my footage of the library that I filmed today. The Fisher Fine Arts Library is located at 220 South 34th Street. In the episode, we see the library not from 34th Street, but from another one of the unnamed trails in Blanche Levy Park. And as I mentioned earlier, Fisher Fine Arts Library is literally right across the park from LIPPINCOTT Library, as you can see from both this Google Maps screenshot as well as from my footage. The trails that go through Blanche Levy Park are gorgeous and make for a great walk around Penn's campus. So grab a psychology book from one of these libraries that Dee and Dennis almost certainly studied at, and take a stroll through the park for another authentic It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia experience. Alright, time to check both filming locations off of our Jabroni Selfie checklist. And just so we can say that we covered every Philadelphia filming location, at 8 minutes and 35 seconds into this episode, we see a few quick shots of Philly. Here we have the Philadelphia skyline as seen from southwest of the city overlooking I-76. Here we see the cameraman looking west on Market Street over top of Christopher Columbus Boulevard. Here we see the Ben Franklin Bridge as seen from Penn's Landing Road above the parking lot at Penn's Landing. And here at 13 minutes and 54 seconds into the episode, we see a totally random shot of somewhere in South Philly taken while driving around in a car. Alright, well that should about cover it. I hope you jabronis had fun seeing the gang's world up close and personal. Be sure to check out the next episode of Jabroni Selfies, which will cover every single Philadelphia filming location for episode 2 of season 1 of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And last but not least, in future episodes of Jabroni Selfies, I'll give a few tips for meeting the actual gang themselves in Philadelphia. The gang comes to Philly to film new episodes almost every summer, so if you time things right, it's entirely possible to meet them. When the gang filmed season 12 in Philly back in the summer of 2016, I was incredibly fortunate enough to meet them, and I cannot say enough about how kind, humble, and frankly, just plain awesome they all were. So more on that in future episodes. Thanks everyone, and hope to see you soon in the next episode of Jabroni Selfies. Just stop laughing at me.